Hey, what's going on guys, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. And today we got the new version 4.2 second phase banners that we're going to be discussing on whether you should pull or not. We have Cyno, Ayato, and much more. Now before we get started with the video, make sure you guys hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel for more of this type of content, and don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on my latest uploads or whenever I go live on my streams. Alright, now on to the disclaimer. Everything I'm about to talk about in this video is all intended for meta purposes or to those who are unsure what to spend their primo gems on. If you like these random characters by design or gameplay, then feel free to disregard everything I say in this video and go for the characters you like. Remember, this is a gacha game, so you should always pull for your favorite characters. And now let's check out the banners. Alright, so for the 5 stars we got Cyno and Ayato, and the 4 stars we got Xiangling, Kuki Shinobu, and Kirara. Ooh, the 4 stars lineup looking pretty interesting here, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, so like usual, let's start off with the 4 stars from top to bottom. Starting with Xiangling, which I won't be explaining too much into detail since I've talked about her many times on the channel. If you want more of an in-depth description of Xiangling, I highly recommend you guys check out my previous banner breakdown videos that feature Xiangling. Anyways, going back to Xiangling, she's still insanely good. Her off-field power burst damage and application is just one of the best abilities in the game, plus she's free to everyone and her constellations are great upgrades as well. Xiangling, no matter where, is always going to be very valuable unless you already have her maxed out, which is very likely for older Genshin Impact players. Up next is Kuki Shinobu, which same thing as Xiangling. I've talked about her many times before. I will mainly say that she is an electro healer and a hyper bloom unit. She's great for both roles, especially with hyper bloom, which she is currently, in my opinion, the only free to play hyper bloom unit. So if you're interested in hyper bloom, I highly recommend you guys build Kuki Shinobu. Now for her pull value, it depends on who she's paired up with. If you end up getting her, it's a great bonus from this banner. She's an overall great unit to have. And lastly, we have Kirara, and now we have one of the newer characters to talk about. Kirara is a Dendro shielder with cool dash effect like Sai or Yelan. Kirara also has a unique role for Dendro since she's arguably the only Dendro shielder in the game. She's quite useful, especially with certain Dendro teams, as she does protect you from self-inflicted damage, such as Bloom or Burgeon reaction. Of course, she can also be used as a generalist shielder, which actually works pretty well. Overall, Kirara is a great defensive Dendro flex, so definitely a great pull to have. Also, if you care, she's one of the few legit cat girls in the game, and she can climb on walls with their box. Alright, so those are the 4 stars. Now let's move on to the 5 stars. We got Cyno, which I'll admit I did give him a lot of criticisms back then for his design. However, the more characters that have released, the more team comps are discovered for him, which luckily, he's great for lots of teams. He's an electro DPS, but mainly designed for Dendro related teams. He can be played a powerful carry for Aggravate or Quick Bloom, or even Hyper Bloom, although in my opinion, Quick Bloom is my favorite. His only massive downside to me is how extremely squishy he is. His whole point of design is to cast a skill at the right time, when his eye appears to receive full damage. But Cyno has pretty low resistance to interruption, so you could easily get interrupted before you cast your skill. But of course, this can be solved with a shielder, which Kirara is a great teammate for Cyno. Up next is Ayato, and he's in an interesting position here. He's directly after Frina, which before you ask who's better, I'm going to explain his best qualities as a unit. Ayato is an overall flexible Hydro DPS and burst support. He does constant AoE Hydro attacks, which also makes him a great offensive driver. Because of his element, you can almost put him in any team. Personally, I like his playstyle because of how simple and easy it is, but he's not necessarily the strongest Hydro character. He's a great unit for anyone to have, especially if you're lacking in Hydro coverage. Now, if you're debating on whether to pull on Frina or Ayato, I will go with whichever you like in terms of playstyle. Frina does offer a lot more in terms of utility and potential team DPS increase, but she's more complex to maximize, versus Ayato, he's a lot simpler and he's pretty great as his role, but he has like limited damage ceiling. Now, if you already have tons of Hydro characters, especially owning Farina, then obviously I wouldn't go with Ayato, since to me, he will benefit for those who either likes his gameplay or are lacking in Hydro coverage. He's not game-changing or anything, but more of a comfy character to have. And those were the character banners. Now let's move on to the weapon banner. And here's a weapon banner which, from the first glance, it looks pretty good here, I'm not gonna lie. Now, like usual, let's start with the 4 stars from right to left. Starting off, we got Favonius Greatsword, which is, in my opinion, the least useful out of all the other Favonius weapon series. There aren't a ton of users that highly value this weapon compared to other Favonius weapon types such as a sword or bow, but this weapon can still be more useful depending on more character releases. Next up is Favonius Lance, which is the opposite from Favonius Claymore. It's one of the best from that series, which is basically the same exact passive as the Claymore, except with more usability. I mean, it's the same thing. Free team particles plus energy recharge will always be very valuable. Up next is Widsith, which is well known to be one of the strongest 4-star DPS catalysts. Especially with refinements, it could potentially out DPS some of the 5-star catalysts. However, this passive is RNG, the buff lasts for only 10 seconds, and this only works for on field. Unless the user benefits from all the buffs, it's most of the times going to be inconsistent to be outputting your damage. Still, the secondary stat has crit damage, which is valuable for free to play. Then we have Lion's Roar, which is an okay weapon. It's an attack stat stick, and the passive only works on certain characters that can benefit from it. With refinements, this weapon can be a great DPS option. Then we have Favonius Bow, same thing as Lance and Claymore, very useful weapon for lots of bow characters. Luckily, you can get this weapon for free after completing the first Archon quest, but obviously with more refinements, the better this weapon gets. Overall, I hope this isn't as more obvious as it is. Any weapon that is under the Favonius series are great. And those are the 4 stars. Let's move on to the 5 stars. Alright, so starting off with the staff of the Scarlet Sands. So as you can see, the base attack is at 542 and the crit rate is at 44.1%. So the base attack is very low. However, the crit rate is a lot higher, so it's overall a great crit value. Then for the passive Heat Haze at the Horizon's End, the equipment character gains 52% of their elemental mastery as bonus attack. When an elemental skill hits opponents, the Dream of the Scarlet Sands effect will be gained for 10 seconds. The equipment character will gain 20% of their elemental mastery as bonus attack, max 3 stacks. Overall, a great crit and attack stat stick, especially for characters that can benefit from stacking up EM stats. Highly values this weapon. Even without the passive, the crit rate is pretty high, so this is a overall powerful weapon. And lastly, we have the Haran Geppaku Futsu. Now for the stats here, we got a base attack at 608 and the crit rate is at 33.1%. Now for the passive Hone Flow, obtain 4% of all elemental damage bonus. When other nearby party members use this elemental skill, the characters equipping this weapon will gain 1 wave spike stack, max 2 stacks. This effect can be triggered once every 0.3 seconds. When the character equipping this weapon uses an elemental skill, all stacks of wave spike will be consumed to gaining rippling upheaval. Each stack of the wave spikes consumed will increase normal attack damage by 20% for 8 seconds. So this is obviously a great weapon for normal attack damage dealers. The passive is very feasible to do consistently, and you do gain a 40% normal attack damage increase plus 4% elemental damage bonus. Now that's a lot, but even if the character doesn't greatly benefit from the normal attack damage increase, the base attack and the crit rate are decent, plus again the all elemental damage bonus. As niche as this weapon sounds, it's actually competitive with other 5-star swords due to the universal buffs. It's overall a great weapon plus fun to use on normal attack DPS characters. And those are the banners we just broke down. Now for my overall thoughts on, are these banners worth to pull for? For the character banners, it's solid pull value. However, in my personal opinion, I would still try your luck on the Farina banner first, unless of course you already obtained her. But if you want Cyno or Ayato, both are solid and the 4 stars pair really well with either of these characters. I definitely like this as an overall banner compared to the previous phase. Then for the weapon banner, it's solid value and even higher value to those who owns both Cyno and Ayato. Both signature weapons are great stat sticks and the 4-star weapon options are all decent as well. So this depends on how much Primo Gems you have. If you are interested in pulling for Navia in the next update, then this banner is not a bad pull. However, if you're sure going to pull or not, like I always mention, I recommend you wait until the next banners are announced for version 4.3 update in case you are interested in Navia or the rerun banners. And that's everything. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel for more of this type of content. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you guys don't miss out on my latest uploads or whenever I go live on my streams. And that's pretty much all I got. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time, stay epic and peace out.